My beloved Madridistas, welcome back to the channel, everyone. I survived. I made it. I'm alive. I'm back. Listen, I'm sorry this took so long. The surgery went really, really well. But, the recovery was a little bit harder than I expected. The first 4 or 5 days, these guys sliced me up like a fish. I've got like 35 staples going down the right side of my body. So the operation went well. The recovery was really, really tough, for 4 or 5 days. And then they give you all these strong medications. You're kind of, spacing out half the time. And so it was kind of tricky to get back. And then, by the way, when it rains, it pours. A couple of days ago, financial markets went kind of crazy. I've mentioned this in my intro video, but I don't know. Most of you guys probably don't know this. This I don't do this for a living. This channel is just a hobby, a passion project. Real Madrid is the love of my life. I love sharing this stuff with you guys. My background is actually in finance, and I run an investment advisory business with a couple of partners in Boston. And of course, the market started. Just as I was recovering, there was like a market meltdown. So our investors were freaking out. I had to, sort of handhold and calm a lot of people down. But so it was a kind of a crazy week. But listen, I'm so happy to be back. We have a lot to catch up on. I want to give you guys my view on sort of, the general comments on the players after the U.S. tour. And then we'll talk about, the center back situation and a couple of other things. But before we do, I just want to say thank you once again. In my last video, when I mentioned I was going to have surgery, I got so many comments from all over the world. You guys are seriously amazing. It was really cool. I was very anxious, to be honest, ahead of the surgery. So I just, it was so cool to get all those messages of support. So thank you guys so much. It's humbling. But, I love you guys. If you guys are ever in Madrid, look me up. I want to meet as many of you as I possibly can. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. All right. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's talk about our beloved Real Madrid. Let's go. All right, Madridistas, welcome back. Okay, let's talk about Real Madrid. Listen, there's a ton of stuff to talk about as we get closer to the start of the season, but I just wanted to address some issues. Now that I'm better, there will be more content coming out, so it will be a lot more regular. Look, let's talk about some of the players, some of the observations after those 3 matches in the U.S. Okay, the first thing we need to discuss is Arda. Okay, now Arda, I don't know how the hell we're going to do this, but this kid needs to play. Okay, I think one of the great takeaways of the summer tour is that Arda is just a gem. This kid needs to play. Many people here think that he needs to be a starter. And I have to say, if you look at his contribution last year, the very few times he played, the unbelievable contribution he made, you look at the Euro he played, the experience and the sort of maturity that he showed despite being so young. He had an incredible Euro. And then you look at his performance even in the summer preparatory tour, and it's just, what are we going to do? This kid needs to play. Look, his characteristics, and we've discussed it before on this channel, but this is a very unique situation, okay? This kid has extraordinary technique, but he has the intelligence of a sort of 30-year-old midfielder. He plays the flow of the game so well. He's very intelligent, always knows what to do with the ball. He distributes very well, and he has a killer instinct in front of goal. This is a player that every time he plays, he just reminds us that he needs to be a starter. Now, look, he can play in the top. We know he plays up front on the right, and there's the Brahim and Rodrigo situation. But I think on some occasions, I think we should choose Arda over those two, and it will depend on the rival. Another thing that I was thinking, just by looking at his sort of raw characteristics, Arda can play a number 10. Okay, there will be matches where, Jude, obviously we're expecting to play just behind the forwards, but I do think that's a position Arda can play. So, if we do have situations where Jude is not around, we need to consider Arda for that 10 position as well, because what you want in a number 10 is exactly what this kid has. Okay, he has vision. He passes unbelievably well. He plays with both legs perfectly. His passing, his vision, it's excellent. He can push forward, and when he's in front of goal, he's lethal. I think that this guy has the dexterity as a player, and is so he has so many different skills I think he could play a number 10 position. So, look, everybody in the press here is talking about it, and it's a very serious issue. So Arda needs more minutes. That's the number one takeaway, and many of us believe that he should be a starter. Okay, a couple of comments on Endrick. Obviously he didn't play the entirety of all the matches, so it's very hard to draw any kind of massive conclusions. But there are a couple of things that I really liked. Okay, and the one thing that I noticed. I prefer to watch games live because you can see the movement off the ball much better. When you watch them on TV, that the camera just follows the ball. But even on TV, I love Endrick's movement. Okay, there were so many occasions when I saw, I think against the Barca match specifically, Barca was playing a very high press. The fullbacks were having a very hard time getting the ball out, and there were so many occasions where Endrick would come back to the middle of the pitch from the number 9 position and allowed the ball to oxygenate its way out. So adding that extra body in terms of getting the ball out and into play, he showed an enormous amount of intelligence. His running off the ball up front as well. He makes a lot of diagonal runs. He's a player that's very active, has incredible movement. And I really, really like to see that. I noticed that this kid moves with a lot of intelligence on the pitch, especially off the ball. Another thing, he had that one shot which I loved, okay, especially in the number 9. There was the one shot that just missed the post, but the release was so quick. He receives the ball, and without even fully turning, that kind of killer instinct is just beautiful to see in a number 9. So he has that killer instinct, which I love. And of course, being the Brazilian that he is, he has such technique. There were a couple of beautiful flicks and beautiful dribbles that he just reminds you where he comes from. So I was very happy with Endrick as well. The little that we saw, even though there wasn't a lot of scoring going on, but I loved what I saw. Okay, we need to talk about Courtois as well. Now, there were a couple of the goals. In the Barca match, I admit he was a little bit dozy. Sorry, the Chelsea match, he was a little bit dozy in terms of coming out in the air. But I was very happy with his reflex saves down low, and to me, that's kind of more the measuring stick for a goalkeeper. His reflexes in the low balls was very, very good, both with his hands and his feet. So I'm very comfortable going into the season thinking that Courtois is, back to, if not 100%, near 100%. So I'm very confident about Courtois. I'll mention Brahim as well. Brahim had more time to sort of prepare. In terms of physical conditioning, I think Brahim is one of the players that's most ready at the moment. A lot of the lineups that you're going to see at the beginning of the season will have as much to do with physical condition as anything else, because we have all this firepower, but not every player is going to be ready at the same time. So I think you're going to see a lot of Brahim at the beginning because he is very, very much in shape. I thought he was very solid, very consistent in the minutes he played, and he looks very physically ready. So I was very happy with Brahim. Vini, look, the times he didn't play every minute, but when he did start coming out, he just, against the Barca match, he just changes things. I mean, Vini there is an extra bit of speed. There is something, Vini. When he came on the pitch, you guys probably noticed this too. There's just an extra gear, and he just has that extra bit of speed. I thought Vini's he's phenomenal. He really needs the Ballon d'Or. I just can't think of a better player in the world at the moment in terms of form. And by the way, the passing, Vini's passing, he has matured so much as a player. I mean, the Brahim goal, if you look at that pass against Chelsea, that was just such a beautiful, intelligent pass by Vini. So I'm very happy with where he is. We need to mention Modric as well, because I think Luka Modric he played 90 minutes the first match, played again the second match. He's definitely physically fit. I think this guy, works very hard on his physical conditioning, his diet, etc. And I think he's going to be crucial this season, okay? Because, with Kroos gone, there will be so many situations where you need that extra maturity, the extra intelligence, and that kind of distribution that Toni Kroos had that nobody in the world is capable of. Luka, at least in terms of football IQ, comes close. So I think Luka has sort of made it very clear that he can solve a lot of situations, and I'm expecting to see many more minutes this year than last year, which might surprise some of you guys. Okay, we have to talk about the center back situation. Look, There were a lot of rumors that Laporte was trying to get out of his contract in Saudi Arabia. People here were kind of excited about it because he would be a very good fit, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So we have to just accept that this is probably where we're going to be. Okay. I think Ancelotti already said, look, the squad is closed. This is what we got. So that, that's going to leave us with Rudiger. I think he looked good. He looked quick. He looked sharp to me. So I'm happy with his form. Militao, I think, can still improve a little bit. He was, he looks better, but I don't think he's quite 100% yet. So we need to keep our eye on Militao. Vallejo is going to have to work very hard to really get to his best. And then we got, Joan Martinez, a kid who, by all accounts, is amazing, but he still has the physicality of a 16-year-old kid. They need to put a lot of muscle on him. I think it's very important that they do that. But I think towards the end of the season, we might see him participate a little bit more as his body develops. By the way, speaking of Arda Güler, let me just go back to Arda for a second. I don't know if you guys noticed, but he's been working out at the gym in Valdebebas, and he's putting on a huge amount of muscle. And he's so committed to a role in this squad. He's completely changing his body, which I think is going to help quite a bit as well. So Joan Martinez, I think, can be an asset, but I still find him a little bit physically frail. And I think he's going to need time just to develop physically before we can really use him in any reliable way. Okay, now let's switch over to, we got to, a couple of you guys mentioned this, the Negreira scandal. There was some more news. Look, I've made so many videos about the level of corruption in the Spanish Liga. Now the Negreira scandal, obviously we all know what happened, the payments and all this stuff, and everything's been proven. Now it turns out that Negreira's wife, let me ask you guys a question. How does a woman that makes 1,700 euros a month suddenly get a 3 million euro deposit in her savings account? Right? It's just unbelievable. I mean, the level of corruption, this even goes to the guy's wife. So that came out, but we're sick to death of talking about this. We're sick to death of evidence coming out, and we're sick to death of nothing ever happening because no one's going to ever do anything to Barcelona. It's unfortunately they've polluted and corrupted the entire system. I don't know when they're gonna pay their dues. Now let's in terms of Barca, just one more thing to say. After this entire Nico Williams thing, they spent weeks muscling the kid to come to Barcelona, making up lies. Nico wants to come. He's begging everyone that he wants to come. He told us he wants to come. Muscling the kid every day for weeks. The kid never said anything, by the way. He finally comes out and says, no, I'm staying in Athletic de Bilbao. And now, of course, the Barca press have to trash him. Now Nico Williams was playing games with us. He's a dishonest person. He wasn't that good a player. It's the typical sour grapes, but I mean, this club never ceases to amaze me. And in the world of Narnia, another nugget of news that came out relating to Barca. So, as you know, they were supposed to have sold Barca Studios, a year or two ago, and they were supposed to get all this money, 40 million of which were never received by a company called Libero. So that stake was still out there. And Barca now says that they managed to place the 40% stake in Barca Studios in the hands of a company called Aramark. Okay, this is a catering company. Okay, somebody needs to explain to me what the hell a catering company is doing investing $40 million in the TV studio of a football team. None of this makes any sense. Everything surrounding Barca is always so shady and it's just so bizarre. But there you have it. They were able to register players on money that they never received because they never got that money from Libero. Now they have someone else to apparently plug the hole. We don't know how or why. We don't know how it works. But you can be sure of one thing. The Liga will accept it. Whatever Barca tells Tebas, he'll accept it. And they'll register whoever the hell they want. Another comment about Barca I want to make is that, now they spent 60 million euros on Dani Olmo. And it just shows you how crazy these people are. So the last thing Barca needs to do now is spend 60 million euros. And I'm not saying, look, Dani Olmo's a great player. I mean, I don't know if he's worth 60, but he's a good player. He's a really good player. But what the hell are you doing? You don't have any money. You're scraping pennies just to pay salaries. It is incomprehensible to me how this club is managed. But somehow, magically, Dani Olmo's coming for 60 million. It's something very, very strange. When somebody really puts the spotlight on this club, we're going to discover a lot of really crazy shit. But anyway, that's what's happening at Barca. But look, That's all I wanted. Just some brief thoughts I wanted to share with you guys. There will be more content coming in the next few days. We'll do a preview of the Super Cup, of course. I want to do a long version preview of the season, and I want to invite some really cool Madridistas to join me and maybe have like a longer discussion about the squad as we enter the new season. So looking forward to kind of doing some new stuff on the channel. But anyway, listen, thanks for waiting for me. If you guys are watching this, I really appreciate it. Sorry it took so long. And I promise we'll be back with more content in the coming days. But thanks for being back. Love you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Ala Madrid.